We are live.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our last week. Wonderful year of amazing women, amazing research, and these events were done in celebration of women in astronomy, women and girls in astronomy, and women and girls in science, and also to celebrate the solar maximum of which happened this year, celebrating the sun and all its rampant, exotic and flamboyant reactions that happen on the sun surface and the wonderful women who research it. And we have two of them joining us today for a reunion. We have Dr. Mariana Cossos from the University of Sheffield, and we have Hebe Cremades from Universidad de Mendoza and Connexit. Did I get it right? I'm very bad with words. Please, thank you so much for joining us, and we are really happy you were able to take time out of your busy schedules. I know the end of the year is very hectic for everyone, and we just want to have a very interesting chat with you because when you came on the webinar, it was all very business-like. We wanted to know about your research, talk about your research and all your wonderful, amazing results that you're having. But we didn't really get a chance to get to know you as persons, as women who are in science. So this webinar or this event is for us to get to know you, to know your story, and to know what plans you have and what has affected your life throughout your research. So can you first say hi, introduce yourselves? Dr. Mariana, can you start by introducing yourself and tell us a bit about yourself and what you do? Yeah. And then Dr. Hebe.
Oh, so always the hardest for the first. Uh, oh, so what I can say. So I did my master's as an astronomy, and after that I went to the industry a little bit for a couple of years. I worked at a telephone company, and my work was kindly finished. So my contract finished. So I went to the job center to ask or looking for a job. And it was a kind of funny story because they asked what is my qualification. I said I'm an astronomer and etc. And in the system there was a job about a solar observer. They were looking for a solar observer, and they asked, "Would you be willing to move to the other city, just 50 kilometer away from that city where I live?" I said yes. So I contacted them, and they hired me. And after a year, they asked, would I be happy to do a PhD? I said, yes, why not? So this is how basically I came back to the academy. But unfortunately, I started my PhD in Hungary. Just I couldn't finish because the observatory was closed. So, okay, but I wanted to continue my solar physics research. So I started a new PhD in the UK in Sheffield. So I did my PhD, and after that, I spent a couple of postdoc in the UK and also in Italy. And I just came back to the UK recently with a fellowship. And now I am in mid of my fellowship, so I am also trying to apply for several fellowship or positions. So let's see how I can stay in the academy, which is not really easy these days. So this is the
Thank you
short
so
story.
This is a short version, the conclusion of the whole journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mariana, Hebe, over to you. Dr. Hebe, please, can
Mhm.
you introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm Eve Cremades. I'm currently in Argentina, in Mendoza, and at the Mendoza Universidad de Mendoza. And I'm employed by the National Research Council of Argentina, which is for short CONICET. And yeah, my journey is also similar in the sense that it started kind of by coincidence as well. So when I was finishing my studies as an engineer at the university, we received the visit of a very renowned solar physicist, Dr. Rainer Schwen from Germany. He came, he gave a talk, and at that moment, I was about to finish my studies, and I came to him and I told him that I was very interested in pursuing a career in space physics at the moment. So he told me that they were about to start a new program at his institute. At the moment, it was called Max Planck Institute für Astronomy in Germany, and so I applied and I got a scholarship and I finally did my PhD there. In the meantime, it changed name to Max Planck Institute for Solar System Research, which is its current name now, and it's in Göttingen. And so after that, I did a postdoc in the US at Goddard Space Flight Center. And at that time, I met uh, my afterwards husband. So I decided then to move back to Argentina and establish here to begin a family. And so it has been quite a challenge especially since my kids were born, to combine work uh, with with the raising of the kids. But I'm I'm managing and achieving it. So they are now 13 and 15 years old. So I can now I can devote more time again to research, luckily.
Thank you so much, Hebe. Um, I can imagine being a woman in astronomy, being a woman in solar physics, and your all your journey that you've gone through. Apart from having children, I know it's as a woman that takes a whole lot of your time and a chunk of your time, and it actually affects your research trajectory and how effective you are in your research. Are there any other challenges that you faced, Hebe, um, while trying to establish your career in solar physics?
Well, actually, um, except for that, which is huge, um, financial issues are also a, a significant problem in Argentina. So it's also very difficult to obtain funding. Projects are very scarce, and the money available for projects it's very few. So we typically have problems attending meetings abroad. That's the largest challenge. And oh, sorry, you're muted. But anyways, I want to add that in Argentina is a country that is very far from the main astronomy poles in the world. So we are far from North America, from Europe, of course. So uh, flight tickets are very expensive, and well, that's why it's very challenging for us to to make our work known at scientific meetings, international scientific meetings. Unless some support is offered, then it's, yeah, quite a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine the challenge, especially as you're saying, Argentina, the location of Argentina being far from North America, and also from Europe, and the flights, and even sometimes getting visas and stuff to these meetings are quite a challenge. Um, do you also encounter such similar challenges, Mariana? Um, Being from Hungary and looking at the challenges from Hungary and comparing them to being currently in the UK, are there any similarities that you can find between?
Um,
Um,
yeah, so as I am again open to continue my research somewhere. So the problem is, as Hungary, the solar physics is not really supportive.
Mm.
Many times I submitted the proposal there and were not supported. And at least the topic was similar, and in the UK or a little bit in the north part of Europe were much more supported. But yeah, the problem is in the UK we also have very hard difficulties. Now more applicants are applying for funding schemes. For example, the people are coming back from America, and now the application number is almost 2 or 3 times compared to the previous years. And now the selection process are very, very, very strict and very hard to go for the different stages. It's based on luck, and also, yeah, I see less money in the funding pot, and yeah, more and more postdocs are leaving the science and going to the industry. So definitely in Hungary, actually, we had to leave Hungary, who wanted to do a solar physics after when the solar observatory was closed. But we still kind of we attached to Hungary. All the solar physics who was there and moved to abroad, we created a so-called foundation, the Hungarian Solar Physics Foundation, and we applying for fundings to keep alive this small observatory what we build. And also we are taking students from the university and they can do some project with us. So for example, in that way, I have an affiliation with the Hungarian University, and in that case,
Mm.
I could take. I don't get any salary; it's just a 0 hour contract. But at least in that case, I can be officially a supervisor of a PhD student there, and this is good in a sense. But in the UK, unfortunately, we have this law. If your contract is less than 3 years, then you cannot be a supervisor. So in that case, it's also kind of a surviving method to get a PhD student. I can do it in Hungary, but I don't get
Mm.
any year funding for that. And I work in the UK, so I try to keep my roots in a different places, and let's
Mm.
see what come up.
It's amazing that you still have ties with Hungary. That's amazing. Thank you so much for trying to keep in touch with your country and also try to develop it in a way while you are still in the UK. So that's amazing work. So we have now Sneha who has joined us. Thank you so much for joining us. We've had a first session where we introduced ourselves. So can you introduce yourself? Tell us about how you got into
Sorry for
solar
joining a bit late.
and what you're doing now. That's okay. We
Yeah, so I'm a postdoctoral fellow at Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics in Pune, India. And I work with the solar wind. I work with something called switchbacks. But when I presented a public outreach talk, it was about something different. Uh, and I did my PhD from University of Oslo in Rosalind Center for Solar Physics. So I have experience in working in a Nordic country, and now I'm back to India where I grew up. So as a postdoc, and yeah, I think that's my introduction. I think.
and then we wanted to know, like, how did you get into solar physics from, your undergrad? And yeah.
Yeah. So as a uh, like high school student, I was always interested in something related to sky. But I was not sure exactly what I want to do, and I enrolled into a bachelor's and master's degree in science. And during that 5 year course, it was a dual degree, so BSMS dual degree, where you get enrolled after high school and then you get a master's degree directly. So it's
Mhm.
like you get a 5 years quantum of different exploring different sciences. So I explored a few things. So I also did a project in intragalactic studies where They use surveys from something called SDSS Observatory. I did a project in neutron stars. So I did a simulation-based project, some observation-based project, some reading project, and so on, to get a taste of what scientists do with skies. And eventually I understood that I want to learn some object in the sky which I can observe. And like, what object better than sun? So I landed up in solar physics after trying different things that I felt that are not I'm not suitable to study those, because with neutron stars something struck with me that I need something to validate my simulations. And we are like, as humankind, we are building a lot of instruments and sending a lot of observatories in the space, but to get science worthy observations, there is still some work to do. So I chose a field where I can immediately test my simulations up to some
Mm.
extent. And yeah, that was the process basically. But I knew that I wanted to study the skies pretty early, I can say.
Yes, it's always interesting to see how early the interest starts about studying the universe. Just looking up at the sky as a young girl and seeing the stars, and you wonder what's up there, and having the opportunity to be exposed is an amazing opportunity for most people, and to have the opportunity, I think is amazing. And I wanted to know, of all the skills, like which skills have turned out to be most important for you? It can be technical or non-technical. As you progress through your career, what skills have you found to be, this has been a lifesaver? This a skill that I didn't even know I needed, but it's working out so well for me. Sinha, what do you
Uh,
think?
yeah,
I'll
I'm
ask all of you, Mariana and Herbert, so please think about it. I'm putting you on the spot, Sinha, but please.
uh, so I think so as a kid I was very how do you say it, pedantic maybe, or more organized, and I liked organizing things. And I think that is the most important skill in research, that we have to be very sure of what we have been doing and how we have been doing and why we have been doing, and write it down and revisit it, and like improve the quality of, let's say, whatever analysis we are doing or whatever writing we are doing, or that's the day-to-day job. So
Mm,
just being very systematic about things as a kid, I think
mm,
that has been my lifesaver, because my PhD was like, I started my PhD in 2019, and after 5 months there was this whole change in the world that came, and that affected a lot of people, including me,
mm.
everybody. But
Yeah.
being organized helped me a bit, at least. Yeah.
Keeping everything, a record of everything, and knowing what you've done and what you're
Yeah.
going to do and what are the results you got. Yeah, I wish I had your skill, but
I think I'm losing it now.
I think it's a very useful skill to have. Um, how about you, Mariana? Any particular skill that has been very important to you as you developed your career?
Definitely, I agree with this organizing skill. But I also learned that let's communicate honestly with your colleagues, collaborators. If you are stuck, then ask for help or discuss the problems,
Mm,
but also ask for a younger generation if or offer help if they need. So
mm,
I think as a senior postdoc, I would say I really appreciate I have very good collaborators, and always would like to keep the good connection with them, but also extend a little bit my collaborators and also my research agenda a little bit, not really huge, uh, huge wide topics, but step by step.
mm.
Uh, but I found that the communication with the colleagues, the collaborators, this is one of the most important part of how my
Mm.
skills are developing, because they are giving something for me, but I also can give something to them.
Yeah. the back and forth of connections and communication skills and networking is so
Uh,
important. As,
yes,
as sorry, yeah, please finish.
trust. And also the trust, what I found. Yeah.
I think as you talk about how jobs are becoming more oversubscribed, people are applying more and more coming in from the US and from other places to compete for the same postdocs and fellowships. Having that communication skills and having collaborators who understand you and you can on good terms with, and having networking skills is so much important as you develop your career in astronomy, and not just in astronomy, I think in every aspect of your life. So
Yes,
that's a very good skill
exactly.
to have.
And also the outreach. I think the
Mm,
outreach is also very useful to sell our science, or even uh, write it down with a different language for the proposals, because
mm,
usually the evaluation is done by not really expert on your proposal.
mhm,
So the outreach activity is also really useful, and also connecting with young generations. And
mhm.
they have a spark in their eyes, then they can inspire. Yeah, let's come do some very small project with us, and who knows, maybe this student will be your PhD student. So um, I think these are experience which are helping you to show that you really want to stay in the science or not, and also developing your skills.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, we need to put that somewhere, written it down in our notebooks, journals, diaries. Herbert, over to you.
Mhm.
What skills do you find most important for you?
Yeah, I fully agree with Mariana. In fact, I was going to say the same. For me, communication and socialization with people is very, very important with colleagues, because in research you can, or it's very difficult, and yeah, it will not be a rich work if you don't work with others. So it's really important to collaborate and to talk to others, to find their opinions. Then maybe there is something that they have another vision of the problem and they can help, and vice versa. So doubtlessly, that was very important for me. I always, when I have the chance to go to meetings, I like very much to interact with people, and not necessarily it will always be work related, but and it's always important for me to get to know people, and of course, particularly in the field. Um, and in my case, also, I have to add the ability to adapt
Mm,
to different countries, different cultures, and different working environments, also different
mm.
people. So that was also very important.
Thank you so much. That's so
Mm.
important to the adaptability of a person is will show how easy they will crack under pressure. Like I know in being woman in a male-dominated field, do you always come under so many pressures, and from home, from work, from personal, from making sure your mental health is stable, you're physically, emotionally, you are in the right place, and adapting to new colleagues, new collaborators, new working environment is so important, and making sure that you can mentally switch into all these different roles that you play as both women and researchers is so much important to be able to sustain yourself and to keep your careers and to keep your dignities most sometimes even in the workplace is so important. So thank you so much. We are writing that down also. So you all gave such amazing skills that sometimes people don't even realize that they need. So thank you so much for sharing that. But we do know that you're all amazing researchers. You all have your fields. I want to know what one big question now in solar physics are you excited about, that you want to research on, you want to know about, or you want to be part of that kind of research? Mariana, do you want to take that for us first? currently in your field of solar physics, is there some question that is is making you feel like you're excited again and you want to, get to it?
Um, Actually, yes. So my main research interest was still developing solar eruption forecast methods.
Mhm.
But recently, I started to more interested about the so-called active longitude, which was it's a phenomenon on the sun which is exists for a couple of months or maybe a years, where the magnetic flux emerging is much stronger, and it's also couple of observations saying that here the solar flare activity is much stronger. But this phenomena was already raised in the early 19th and
Mhm.
maybe 2000, and it's forgotten. And now it's getting again popped up. And it's a very nice direction of the solar dynamo also, but also for the solar eruption prediction purposes. So it has a kind of two direction, and I really fascinated about that topic at the moment. And probably in the UK, I will be the only one who is working on that direction. Um, and of course, also there is a so-called no routine observation, magnetic field observation in the higher solar atmosphere. And now we
Mm.
are developing a telescope for that. So I went a little bit in the engineering direction also.
Wow.
So in that case, as when I am digging into my research and I see what are the missing bits, then let's
Mm.
explore that how we can feel it back. So that's why I like when you are becoming a so-called independent researcher.
Mm.
So starts to feel up or discover a new directions.
Wow, amazing. I like the part where you are probably the only person working on it in the UK. I remember one of my supervisors told me that you should always go through the part that is less taken by people. You always find more interesting stuff there, and I hope you find more interesting results from that kind of research and in your particular interest. Wow, I look forward to hearing more about it. Herbert, do you want to tell us about your interests, current interests?
Yeah, my main main interest is to understand how magnetic fields are organized within coronal mass ejections. So these are
Mm.
these huge explosions of plasma uh, coming from the sun, and they can travel towards Earth, for instance. And if we get to know how their magnetic fields are organized in detail, because the detail is very important in these huge structures. You don't know which specific part of the whole structure will impact our planet. So it is very important to, for instance, for space weather and
Hmm.
forecasting. Yeah.
Like knowing how the magnetic fields are coiled up and how they arrange themselves and how they will lead to the eruption of the corona. Amazing. You have such
Yes.
fun research areas.
No, but it's a very difficult problem because observations, the nature of observations we have is very limited in
Mm,
this aspect. So it's very hard to remote sense magnetic fields and the three-dimensionality of the problem.
mm.
Yeah.
So are you using let me ask, are you using computational modeling to kind of support that kind of research also? Because the problem with astronomy always is observation, tools for observation. We never have enough tools.
Right.
So I don't know whether
Right.
you're
Yeah,
planning to use.
particularly, yeah, in our
Mhm.
group, we are mostly focused in the observations, but we do
Mm,
collaborate with other groups that are doing more
amazing.
interesting.
Wow. We look
Mhm.
forward to more of your research in that area. It'll be so much fun. As Sneha, do you want to tell us about your exciting solar
Yes.
science?
So,
Yes.
so during my PhD, I worked with something called chromospheric activity in the
Mm,
sun and modeled it in comparison to other sun-like stars. So currently, since I'm working with the solar wind data, it's in a way kind of related because the motivation behind learning and understanding the solar activity was to for me personally was to understand how the habitable zones around other stars work and
mhm,
how the habitability is affected by the star, and working with solar wind is like directly probing inside that question because the solar wind is the like major entity that interacts with the planets, whereas
mhm,
everything happens on the sun and it is carried via the solar wind to the planets.
mhm,
So currently the question that we here try to answer is the magnetic structures in the solar wind. Can we trace it back to the solar surfaces, and can we understand how the events happening on solar surface affect the observations that we have in situ for the solar wind, for example, with Parker Solar Probe or Solar Orbiter. So all in all, my interest in astronomy started with habitable zones and habitability and all the things that I discussed in the outreach
mhm,
talk usually. But the particular questions that I'm interested in currently, like scientific questions, is impact of small scale solar events like in corona or in chromosphere, even below these layers in the inner chromosphere or in photosphere, how these events affect the magnetic structure of solar wind. um,
mm,
so currently we use observed data from PSP and some 1D models just to emulate how the wind is propagated. um, but yes, this is a bit technical as well because uh, like the sun is the only astronomical object where we can have in situ data. Like we can
mm,
inside the observational field and observe the field from inside there. Otherwise, all
mm,
other objects, for all other astronomical objects, we have remote sensing data. That means
mm,
observatories are on Earth or in the like on the satellites around Earth, and the
mhm,
objects are far away, and the photons that come from those objects, those are sensed. In situ data, we
mhm,
can also have the information about the particles that are coming
mhm.
the observatory. So that is
Yeah.
a very unique data that we have for the sun, and it's very interesting to work with that.
Amazing. So having thinking about solar winds, looking at the small ones, at some point, do you want to think about how they affect Earth and Earth's magnetic field and all that stuff also? Or it's just going to be thinking about from the sun through to the through the solar winds? I mean, like how the solar winds affect Earth's magnetic field. I
Yes, yes. So
Yes.
usually that part of work is called
Mm-hmm.
magnetospheric studies. Um, but what I work with is the heliospheric. So it's more
Okay, on the
related
opposite
to the
side,
sun.
the
Yes, yes.
origination. Yes. Okay. Okay. Now, I was trying to wrap my head around.
I mean, in
Oh,
our team, we have people who work on magnetosphere and
mm,
the Earth's atmosphere, ionosphere, and so on. So
mm,
obviously, solar wind particles interact with the Earth. We talked about that, and those particles affect the atmosphere around the Earth, and in turn, they
mm.
affect the habitability of the planet around stars. If we are talking about stars and stellar winds and exoplanets. So,
I think why I thought of that was because when you said your interest is in your interest used to be in habitable zones, habitable, planets. I was like, oh, okay. So now I understand. So your interest is in from the origination of solar winds and not the end part of it. Amazing. Wow. You all have such interesting research areas. Can I be a solar physicist at some point? Can I join you one day?
you should.
Because I feel like
Thank
the star, the sun is like our closest star. And as you said, everything can be actually in situ compared to those of us who study star formation. We study like massive star that are like kiloparsecs away. And we can always only do remote sensing, basically. But yeah, so much fun. Yeah, great. Thank you so much for sharing your passionate um solar physics questions. But I want to know, um, I think Herbert spoke a bit about challenges that you have faced. And you are all different women. You all have different challenges. Can you share a bit more about what challenges you faced, or currently facing as a woman in the very male-dominated field of astronomy and also solar physics? And do you think that these challenges are being shared by other minorities in this field? I don't know whether Heber you want to take that first.
You mean in the sense of particularly for being a woman, if
Yeah, being a
I have
woman
this.
and yes, and being a minority, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Um, well, except for the challenges I have already exposed of having a family, then I must mention it has happened to me not not very much, but it has happened to experience some kind of harassment. And okay, so I have just behaved to kind of ignore it or ignore that person and just avoid contact, and that's it. Um, Aside from that, which has been very sporadic, has happened maybe twice or three times in my whole career, which is already, it shouldn't have had happened at all. But aside from that, I don't have anything else to add, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for sharing. I think that's one time is one time too many to to face that kind of challenge in your workplace. We all need to feel safe and all need to be seen, appreciated, valued, and feel safe in our workplaces. And I think that's a challenge that most women have faced at some point in their careers. Others as students or as early career researchers or as no full-blown researchers, tenured professors. And I think one is one too many, and three is too much. But I think we all support you. And I think I personally support you in any way. in, and we stand in solidarity with you and anyone who has actually faced any such situations like that. I don't know whether Mariana or Sinha have anything to add. It doesn't have to be the same challenge. We are all in different countries and in different situations and different levels of your career. So, are there any challenges you faced that you think some people, as women, we
Yes.
should take note of? Yeah.
I I have a very tangential maybe line of thought in this. It
Mm,
is the lack of representation is what I feel is one of the challenges that I face on long-term basis, because I've always
mm,
seen senior male professors, male postdocs, and faculties, and not any women. Even if I have seen women who are in the field, they are either without children or unmarried, and there are very few women who are in the like typical patriarchal structure that the almost all the countries follow. So either they have to be career women and break the structure and be taken out of this family structure to be career
mm,
women. They are compromising with their career and like maybe dropping out of academia, going to industry, or even going to some outreach kind of jobs after
mm,
even if they want to pursue a research career, because it is so demanding, because it involves a lot of travel, and because it is maybe not designed for people who are going to be mothers and who maybe carry children inside their bodies. So because of that, maybe they drop out of
Mm,
this more demanding, physically and mentally demanding track, and then they else. That's why we have a lot of more male dominance in higher positions, because probably at
mhm,
the stage of doing masters, doing PhD, the sex ratio or the gender ratio is not as partial. But as
mhm,
we see in the higher steps and higher ranks of career in
mhm,
academia, especially in this kind of, quote unquote dry fields like astrophysics, there
mm,
are less and less women. And what I face is I do not identify myself with any of the colleagues who are in permanent positions or in, higher positions than me. And one more thing is also about being feminine. I like wearing colors, I like, dressing up. And it is very
mm,
like it's not seen as a, serious academic person. A person should
mm,
have certain features, like probably not caring about how they look, or that kind of underrepresentation of femininity is
mm.
I challenge get that's my challenge. I feel underrepresented.
Amazing. I think I think I face very similar um challenges also while doing being a scientist, and your family will even tell you scientists are always have bushy hair with unkept shirts or barely iron shirts, and even when you're a researcher and you're in a research field or an institution, you find everyone wearing jeans, shorts, t-shirts, and when you dress up, you do stand out so much. You want to wear your pretty dress, or you want to wear a suit, trousers, and a nice shirt, and then I just want everybody's asking, "What happened? Is there any special event? But you just want to look good."
And because of that, actually, if somebody who is well dressed, or who is not fitting in that mold of
Hmm.
traditional scientists, uh, even before other people taking them less seriously, sometimes I myself think that maybe because I am such and such, maybe somebody else who is saying something is more important or more correct, or
Mm,
has more value than what I am doing. And that is something, that's where I feel like there should be representation. There should be
mm,
somebody who looks like me, behaves like me, in a position of higher power. So
yeah.
that's the importance of representation, in my opinion.
The statistics of women taking up more higher positions as it really goes down as you go up, and not seeing anybody that looks like you is a very has some negative impact on you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to do a PhD, because I have daughters, and I was thinking, I want my daughters to grow up saying, I have a role model. I have someone who has done it. It may not be in astronomy, but they should have the freedom and the courage to say, I know someone who did it and I can do this also. And I think that's so much important. So important to young people to have a role model who is in a higher level, managerial directorship, having been a tenured professor, and even having some of the values that you want, like having a family, having a husband, having children, or choosing to do something that aligns with your values. So that's so important. Thank you so much for sharing. Mariana, do you want to add anything to the conversation?
Um, yeah, maybe it's more general, and I think more
Mm,
women has experienced this because of the cultural problems. So different cultural backgrounds, where the man is still is the has a man role, and the woman should stay at home. Then in that type, I am just a woman. And my opinion is not taking that seriously, than, for example, as a white man would say that. And I had sometimes that feelings. We have to find the common ground for the communication. Sometimes I felt that maybe I need to bring a professor next to me, because in Europe we are more kind of equally treat the woman and the men scientist. So I would say anyway, you will find yourself in that situation if you start to collaborate with that type of culture where it's still deeply inside that the man is a man and the woman is just a woman. But I think it's getting better. But definitely you have to find a common ground in that situation, how to communicate. It's a little bit much harder than, for example, where this difference is not that big. Just that.
Sorry, I was muted. You're also right. Like all the challenges that you face are things that women all over the world are faced, not just in astronomy. And you coming here to tell us about it puts voice to these challenges and makes people feel that, oh, I'm not the only one in here, and people feel the same way I do, and I need to find the people who feel the same way I do, who share my narrative, and move together, and be as successful as you three wonderful women are being right now, sharing your stories with us. We are so grateful to share for your presence here and for your contribution for the Women in Solar Physics. Um, we unfortunately have to end the live now, but we have some more questions to ask you. We hope we can invite you again one day to come and help us. And this video or this interview is going to be still on YouTube. Please check it out. And if there are any questions in the chat that you want to answer, or anything else you wanted to say that we could not talk about, we'll be happy for you to put it in the chat so that people can still communicate with you and interact with you after this video and after this interview. Thank you so much. We wish you all the best in your careers, all your aspirations. We hope that you're able to meet them, and 5, 10 years from now, we will see you taking up all these aspirations that you are envisioning. We'll probably see you at conferences, in directorship positions, as senior professors, and that'll be so amazing. Um, to our audience, I'm Naomi Asabe-Frimpong. I'm a deputy director for the OEO and the IAU Office for Astronomy Outreach, and this has been the Women in Solar Physics Reunion, bring an end to our Women in Solar Physics celebration of women in astronomy, women in solar physics. Thank you so much to Mariana, to Hebe, and Sinha for sharing their story with us, and we hope we'll keep in touch with you and continue to collaborate in any way possible. Thank you all and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for
And
joining us.
thanks for
Bye-bye.
organizing this.
Thanks for the invitation. Yeah.
Thank you